If someone is prepared, Commissioner Detert or someone else, Commissioner Detert is recognized. If you would like to make a motion for or against this contract, I would ask you to do that now, and then I'll ask for a second.
Okay. I thank you for outlining where we stand. There's been a lot of misinformation out there, mainly in the newspaper that we all read, about the anonymity of the, why would you vote on a project that you don't know that project. Frankly, I helped write that law. These companies wanted to be anonymous permanently, and we did not allow that. And my legislation at the time said once you take a penny of taxpayer dollars, then we have to know who you are and do due diligence. So where we stand right now, we have no contract. We had directed our staff to pursue the job aspect, and frankly, they did that, and there's no contract as of right now. What I'd like to state is that it's the wrong project, mainly due to remote workers and other issues. We can't prove who you hired and where they live and how much they make. And this is a back-end payment, so you would have gotten paid by who you hired. So far, they've hired no one because we have no contract. So we've got the wrong project at the wrong time with the war that's going on. The flag in the back, I think, brings a tear to everyone's eye. This country is 100% united behind Ukraine. And it's one thing that's united us all, which is a pleasure. And this project is also in the wrong community. Historically, those of you in North County don't probably even know this, but for 40 years or longer, we've had a very large Ukraine population in Northport and a big church that handles the Ukrainians. They've been great citizens of Sarasota County decade after decade. We're thrilled to have them. So it's the wrong project, the wrong time, the wrong community. So I will make the motion that just instructs the staff to no longer pursue a contract with Rumble.
Okay, no.
We don't clap.
We don't clap. We don't cheer. This isn't a high school pep rally. Please, please, please help me with that, because we have to keep a real clear record. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Detert. Is there a second? All right. A motion by Commissioner Detert, second by Commissioner Cutsinger. Commissioner Detert, you go first if there's anything you'd like to add. Commissioner Cutsinger, you go next as the seconder.
No, I will give my time to Commissioner Cutsinger.
I agree with what you said there. It's great to see the Ukrainian support here this morning.
Your mic's not on.
I agree. It's great to see the Ukrainian support here this morning. And again, thank you, sir, for coming and leading us in the pledge. I think all of us are just horrified by what we see happening over there. And any connection with that at all is something I don't want to be a part of. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to speak last. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to.
I'd
like to amend the motion, and I'd like to add that we end the incentive program in Sarasota County, the economic incentive program in Sarasota County.
Okay, that we have an amendment by Commissioner Ziegler. Do we have a second for that amendment?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would, as the maker of the motion, I would consider that an unfriendly amendment, and it would require a very long discussion and participation of EDC, our public-private partner, on that.
Yep.
And,
Well, I would say that the motion that was made today, that actually requires a long discussion and some research, and it is made in response to some public outcry that is frankly based on false reporting. But
all right,
but I have an amendment on the floor looking for a second.
Right, and that's what I was about to say. No, we're not going to have any discussion now unless and until there's a second for the amendment proffered by Commissioner Ziegler. Is there a second? Yes, Commissioner Moran.
I'll second very much in the interest of discussion on the matter. Full disclosure, I'm not sure how the end will go, but I'm open to a second because I want to hear discussion on this.
Okay, that said, we're going to work on the amendment first, and then that may pass or not pass, but then we'll move to the parent motion. So, Commissioner Ziegler, why don't you go first, then Commissioner Moran, then anyone else?
So I'm going to discuss the amendment in a second, but I'm also going to discuss the main motion right now as well because it's important to lay that out. What's going on in Ukraine is insane. The Russians are obviously not our friends. I think everyone agrees on that, hopefully. I have an individual that I've done a lot of work with in the past that actually lives in Ukraine, and probably every 2 or 3 days I shoot him an email just to, I mean, as sad as it sounds, to make sure the guy's alive. He's probably in his late 20s. He does incredible work. He's a developer over there that I've done work with in the past, and the stories I'm getting back from this individual are that he's moving around the country to be safe. And literally, they don't, you know, they're proud of their country for fighting back, but then they're also terrified because the more gains they make, the more terrified they are that a nuclear weapon or a chemical weapon is going to be used on them to suppress those gains. So it's pretty insulting, some individuals in the crowd here trying to say that any commissioner, but specifically me, is siding with Russia in any way. My father also lives in Serbia. A lot of people don't know that about me, which almost borders Ukraine. I actually am Hungarian, and my family's from Hungary, which actually does border Ukraine. And if that war gets out of hand and starts crossing borders, literally my dad's side of the family, my brothers, my father, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles on my father's side, they're at risk. So this is the problem with reporting, and this is the problem with political narratives, that people get involved in issues that they don't fully understand, and they start lobbing attacks at commissioners. There's a gentleman in the back waving his head or whatever. This is the reality, sir. My father lives over there, and I have friends over there. Now, here's what's going on, and this is why I'm a little frustrated, frankly, with the original motion that was made, is we are reacting to the news, and we are reacting to political activists that are pushing this issue. Here's what the news said, and I'll go through it point by point, and I did this with the reporter, but unfortunately I got a call at 11 that said, hey, call me back, and I wasn't able to get out of meetings and call anyone until 3 o'clock. So 11 a.m., 3 p.m. I called the reporter, and I'm told that, hey, at 2 o'clock is our deadline because we have to print our newspaper on the East Coast to ship it to the West Coast, which is crazy. I mean, I'm not just sitting around my phone waiting for the Herald Tribune to call me all day, and I called them as soon as I could, and then they run and they print, admittedly by the reporter, false information. So here's what the newspaper said, and I didn't expect this to come up so early, so my notes are kind of spread apart. This would be a lot more eloquent if I could wait, but I guess we're having this motion now. The news said that as technology platforms such as Google, Facebook, and Twitter are blocking RT News, which is the Russian news, Sarasota County voted to give $825,000 to Rumble. Every single part of that claim is false. Removing RT News, which is this Russian news platform, and it's, first of all, it's pretty silly that the county commission's up here dissecting a business and trying to wade in, you know, what business is deserving or not, when I've seen deals fly through for the EDC without any question when they're in other industries. But I'll get to that in a second. But the first claim that other platforms are deplatforming, what I will share with you, and if you're on Facebook and you have your phone, you can look it up right now, is RT News is on Facebook. 7.4 million followers on Facebook. On Twitter, they have 3 million followers. But yet, I read in the newspaper that those platforms have removed RT News. Both pages are actually verified, so both platforms, Facebook and Twitter, have actually verified those organizations and allowed them to use their platform. Both of them are live. I checked just this morning. This screenshot is from this morning, right here. Both of them are live on those platforms. So the first point that they're getting deplatformed because they have Russian propaganda. And I guess I would come back and ask the commissioners that use Facebook, I would ask the activists that use Facebook, and I'd also ask the Herald Tribune. By having an account on that platform, are you condoning Russian propaganda? That's the question. If you're on Facebook, are you condoning it because you're on that platform? I would say, no, you're not. That's a silly question. But they turn around and they pin it on the county commission because someone wants to come here and create jobs. So let's now go to the next point, that Sarasota County voted to give $825,000 to Rumble. That's not accurate either. The first part, voted to give any money to quote-unquote Rumble, that's not true. This is how it's presented to us. And it's presented to us as the EDC, and this is how it works, just so people know, because the Herald Tribune doesn't even understand this. Literally, the Herald Tribune reporter in their reporting, which is what this motion is being motivated from, said that, why didn't the commission talk to each other before the meeting? Well, first of all, that would be breaking the law. That's called sunshine law. We cannot talk to each other before meetings. And the Herald Tribune, in their editorial or their opinion piece or whatever, I mean, pretty much every article is an opinion piece anyway, but in there, they said, why didn't the commission get with each other and talk about this before the meeting and discuss it before they made a decision? Again, that would be against the law, so that's another inaccuracy with that newspaper. But voted to give $825,000 to Rumble. This is how it works. I believe in this case, the state said, we have a company that's looking at moving to Longboat Key. They sent that lead down to the EDC. The EDC, which we've been highly critical, myself included, of the organization in the past, works directly with the company, and the company enacts a confidentiality clause that's provided by the state. Why? And I'm going to rant here for a while because I'm frustrated with this. I've spent a lot of time trying to explain this to the newspaper, and they continually don't get it right and don't understand how this works. So the state sent the lead down, goes to the EDC. The EDC works directly with the company. The company enacts a confidentiality clause that's provided by state statute, not the county. And the reason why there's a confidentiality clause is because you can imagine if you have a company that has 200 employees and you decide, you know what, I want to relocate from California or New York or whatever, for whatever reason you want to relocate your private business. If your employees caught wind that you were looking around to move your company, most of them would start quitting, looking for other jobs. They would leave your company. That's the purpose of the confidentiality clause, whether you like it or not. And that confidentiality clause is there while they're looking around trying to get a potential deal. Once they get a deal, they are, that is lifted. And before the deal comes back to us, that was lifted, and we found out who the company was. And they do that because while you're looking around, as I mentioned, you don't want your current company to know because people will start quitting. And also, that's why it gets lifted after people start moving forward with the deal once they get a little bit more serious and go to the next step. Now, the question of, so first of all, we didn't know the name of the company. It was presented to us as Project Sunshine because of that confidentiality clause. The second thing is the second part of that claim that we voted to give $825,000, and I saw these like very clever petitions that are put out there, and anyone that signs them, if you actually read the petition and understand what's going on, probably half of it is just completely inaccurate that has nothing to do with this issue because they start talking about previous deals before I was on the commission that were a disaster. But since those deals happened, the county commission has fixed the process. So when you say that we voted to give Rumble $825,000, I've already taken care of the name. We didn't know the name. The second part of it, giving $825,000, the way the program works, and I know this is long and this is frustrating, and you're probably tired of hearing from me, but this is why I wish,
Okay,
this
time
is
out.
why,
Commissioner Ziegler.
no, it's fine. There's rude
No,
people. I can,
No. We're going to stay silent when some portion that I can get to of these 25 cards, when you're up here speaking.
so,
Wait, I'm not done. And I will pause this meeting if you start shouting out. This is not a high school pep rally. Commissioner Ziegler, please
yeah.
continue.
So voted to give $825,000 to Rumble. Again, we didn't know the name until after the initial vote happened, which I'll explain what that vote actually was in a second. To give $825,000, the way the program actually works is that the proper word is up to $825,000. That's a key part here. The Herald Tribune didn't report that, and the people pushing this issue don't mention that. Why is up to such an important phrase in that statement? Because up to means that they have to qualify for it. So the way the incentive program works, and I don't know if there's anyone on this commission, I mean, we're on an amendment to kill the incentive program that doesn't like the incentive program more than I do. But the reason why up to is important is because the only time the county pays out is once a job is created and verified. It's after the fact that a job's created. If Rumble was to come into town and create no jobs, it would be that up to $825,000 would actually be zero. Even though the Herald Tribune and a lot of the petition language and some of the activists go out there and say that we voted to give them $825,000. Usually when you say you give someone money, that literally means that you gave them money and handed it over. This is actually a rebate program, basically. You have to create the jobs, then you get the money. I still don't like it. I think it's kind of a silly program. That's why I just made that amendment. So we didn't know the name. We didn't vote to give them up to $825,000. Here is what the vote actually was, and this is why I'm so frustrated with this motion that was made today in response to false reporting and false political outcry, is we were presented with a deal, and here's how it was laid out, because there's some misinformation out there as well on this. The EDC came and met with every individual commissioner. I'm assuming everyone took meetings with them. I know I did. And they sat down and they said, look, we have Project Sunshine. Project Sunshine, like what company is it? Well, we can't tell you. It's a confidentiality clause, which I already explained. Project Sunshine is a tech-based company that wants to move to Longboat Key for their U.S. headquarters. They are in the tech industry, and I'm going to lay out exactly what I was told. They are in the tech industry. They are a content curator platform, which I'm thinking like TikTok or one of these platforms, right? They are a content creator platform, and they're interested in moving here particularly because we have Ringling College, and we have access to a lot of individuals at Ringling College that create content. We're one of the best art and design schools in the country. They have a digital program as well, I believe, and they definitely have a video program there. And Project Sunshine is offering to move to Longboat Key, set up their U.S. headquarters, create 165 jobs, 41 jobs at an average of $170,000 per year, 124 jobs at an average of $80,000 per year. What do you guys think? Do you want to look into this? That was the question. And frankly, that was the vote that we took. Was they came to us and said, Project Sunshine, tech-based company, wants to move to Longboat Key, going to create 165 jobs, 41 jobs at 170,000, 124 jobs at 80,000. That's the proposal that came before us. So then what happens? We voted as a commission to say, sure, we'll look at it. I mean, the reason why we were excited about it from this dais was the fact that these are going to create jobs that are going to provide $170,000 a year job, $80,000 per year jobs on average as well in Sarasota County. We have a housing crisis. We have an affordable housing crisis here. The easiest way to get out of the housing crisis is two ways. Either create more homes and increase the supply, which a lot of the people that complain about affordable housing don't want to see and don't want to do, or you have higher paying jobs so you can afford the housing in the area. These are super high paying jobs that were presented to us. So that's how it was presented to us.
Commissioner Ziegler, I'm going to ask you if I can get some other commissioners up on the...
Yeah. So that's how it worked, right? Now, here's what happened, is once the name came out, after we voted to move forward with that proposal, hey, bring us back a proposal, and we also added a stipulation, I think it was Commissioner Moran that mentioned, hey, these employees should definitely live locally, and I agree with that. We don't want to be paying for jobs that are created in other areas. Then our staff has gone back and tried to work out a deal, and that deal hasn't been able to get done. So that deal's still in limbo. And now we're voting today to kill it before they even come back with a deal with us to review and before us doing research.
Let's have Commissioner Moran follow up with some comments.
Yeah, go.
And then Commissioner Cutsinger. Just the narrow context of, was your motion to review the incentive program?
No. And It was to end the incentive program, and the reason why, I mean, very similar to this, the original motion is, I mean, we're cutting off time to review the deal that would come back from Rumble, so I don't see why it would be an issue for us not to rush and vote to end the incentive program either. So it's actually a motion to end the incentive program, not to review.
All right. All right, we have an amendment to the main motion to end the incentive program. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed to the amendment to end signify no. Chair votes no. However, the amendment to the main motion passes 3-2 with Detert and Mayo voting no. Now that is done until and unless it gets brought back up, but it is now done. And we're voting on the parent motion made by Commissioner Detert and seconded by Commissioner Cutsinger. All those in favor?
No, we have debate on that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. You're right. I got thrown off. Okay, that's Commissioner Detert first, and then Commissioner Cutsinger. I think you both said no, but and I think you spoke also. But go right ahead if you have something else.
Yeah, so I discussed the process earlier. Now I'm going to discuss why I'm not going to support this amendment. This is, what's that? Or, sorry, discuss this motion. We already made the amendment. I'm okay with discussing and ending the incentive program and discussing the process there and adjusting that process. And as we just voted to end it with the amendment.
Everybody, excuse me. I am so sorry, Commissioner Ziegler. You are just really strongly making a great case for your position. Everybody, sit down. Now, 2 of the 4 doors are blocked. Please. Fires happen in the strangest places.
I didn't like the confidentiality clause. I actually mentioned that during the process. I didn't like the headlines and the false narratives that were pushed out there. That's fine. But when we're looking at this, now we're starting to dive into a business and we're starting to basically litigate what businesses can and can't do. And with the false information out there, which has not been accurately reported or spread to the public, that causes great concern. The fact that they're on other platforms, but this platform's been singled out and to drive a political narrative. This is a form of cancel culture. That's what we're voting on here. That's what's prompting this action. And again, I do not like Russia. I think they're our enemy. They're not our friend. I sympathize with the people of Ukraine. But, you know, here in America, I mean, the same people that are screaming about Rumble are the same people that, you know, think that you should burn flags and all this other stuff, which is actually protected in America and shouldn't be.
Okay.
Easy,
okay.
easy. You guys will get your turn to come up here and tell me why I'm
right.
wrong.
Commissioner Ziegler, if you can,
I'll get there. I'll get there.
No,
So,
you can slow down.
Yep.
Everybody. Next time we have that outburst, it's real simple. I'm delicately going to tap the gavel, and we're going to take a break of anywhere from 2 minutes to longer. Commissioner Ziegler.
So here's my issue, is we have this draft agreement that's out there floating that may not even get done, may not even come back to us. Maybe it does. Maybe it comes back even better than what we initially outlined, and we just don't know. I've heard from a lot of people in town. Now, again, I'm in my 30s, a little bit different perspective than other people that may be a little bit older and not engaged with people in their 20s, 30s. But I've heard from a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that they want access to high-paying jobs that Rumble is promising to bring here. And again, we don't pay out until they create those jobs. I have heard from people on Longboat Key that are very excited to have a U.S. headquarters on Longboat Key. And I don't know if they come here or not, depending on what happens with this. I'm not sure. But we sit up here and we talk about that we need to move into the tech space, frankly, moving away from some of these deals that we've done with people that are in the developer, industry and all of that building industry, and we want to diversify our economy. And if you look on the paper, it is a great deal. I heard from someone that previously was in a leadership role at the Herald Tribune, and they actually admitted to me, they said, To be honest, Christian, if you didn't do a deal with them, I would be upset instead of doing a deal with them, because it would look like you're not doing a deal simply because of politics. And that's what this feels like. We are reacting to false narratives and headlines, which I laid out, and we're taking action, impromptu action, rather than letting the process play out and letting that agreement come back to us. And then at that point, once we have an agreement to review, we can vote it down. That's how the process works. We can vote it down, but we're rushing because of outcry created by false information, and it's just not the way we should be doing business here. It doesn't mean that I support the deal, because literally there's been no deal to review yet. It means that I don't support cutting off the process for us to review something and then have a fair opportunity to vote for or against it. So I will not be supporting this motion. I'm frustrated that it was brought up, because this is not normally how we do business at the County Commission, and I've been chastised in the past for bringing up issues so quick. And that's what it seems like is happening here, is we're legislating on the fly rather than getting with staff and having meetings and talking to the EDC and even potentially maybe talking to the company. We're rushing to do something. And if that's a change in protocol, I'd appreciate notice on it, because, again, I've been chastised in the past for doing exactly what's happening here. And, again, lastly, nothing that we're discussing here. My issue, Ukraine, Russia, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, it's a process issue, and we would have an opportunity to vote against this later, which I may entertain simply because I don't support the incentive program, which we just voted to end anyway. So I will be voting no on this motion. I appreciate everyone's concerns and support of Ukraine. For those that are honestly mean it, those people, they need our assistance, they need our help and our support. And Russia is not our friend. I can't stress that enough. Yeah, I appreciate you guys listening to me. I'm sorry for rambling so much. I'll try to be quiet the rest of the meeting.
You're absolutely fine, Commissioner Ziegler. Commissioner Detert, you're back on the board, and then we're going to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chairman, I appreciate your patience in having this full discussion. But since the amendment to the motion just passed, canceling all incentives, it makes the main amendment a moot point, I think, because our only involvement as a public-private partnership with EDC is that we're the ones that offer the incentives. So if that no longer exists, then we don't really probably even need a motion.
All right.
I would like to turn to either Jonathan on that.
Let me do the direct. Thank you. You
Okay,
make an
thanks.
excellent point. At this point, we had an amendment which survived because it was an amending a motion that was on the floor. Now, if Commissioner Detert withdraws her motion and Commissioner Cutsinger withdraws his second, that is the main motion, does the amended motion still have standing? I would think not.
It would not. It would be an amended motion to a motion that had been withdrawn. It could be renewed as its own motion, but it would not have standing as an amendment to a motion that was
Okay.
withdrawn.
With that said, Commissioner Detert, you do as you please. We'll be starting all over again. Do you still want to withdraw your
But
motion?
that's not exactly my question. I think that's a lovely idea, but my question is, if we just canceled incentives, we would no longer be a participant in the Rumble contract because it called for some, so basically it makes it a moot point. And Rumble can come here or not come here. They just would be coming here without any help from us.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ziegler.
So what you could do is, if this was withdrawn, we would have to do a new standalone motion to vote on just the incentive portion
Correct.
rather than dealing with the specific topic. Now, I don't know how you withdraw a motion after the amendment has been approved. How would you do that?
Rick, is it as simple or not as Commissioner Detert withdrawing her motion and Commissioner Cutsinger withdrawing his second, And then I would look to Commissioner Ziegler for a new main motion, which would mimic his amendment.
That's correct. The maker and the person who seconded the motion can withdraw the motion.
Okay, so let's
And then if
cut.
I don't withdraw the motion,
If you don't withdraw the motion, then the board would vote on the motion with the amendment. And I think I understand your point, Commissioner Detert, is that the amendment really is included, or would take over the necessity of the original motion, but it could still be voted on together. And if it was approved, both portions would be approved, and that would be resolved in that manner.
Rick, let me just ask a couple of questions. If there is no withdrawal of the main motion, and the main motion survives with a yes vote, it has attached to it Commissioner Ziegler's amended motion, which got a 3-2 vote, yes.
Correct. The motion that would be voted on by the board at this time would be the motion by Commissioner Detert as amended by Commissioner Ziegler.
I'm going to stick with that, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to remove my main motion.
Okay, with that said, let's vote on the main motion, remembering as amended. That's what I was just going to say. Thank you, guys. So we have the motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Anyone else? Okay, and those that are opposed to the main motion?
No.
Chair votes aye and is on the losing side. That motion fails with Commissioners Detert and Mayo in supporting it. However, Rick, give me some guidance here. It fails, but what does that do to the amended motion that was attached to it?
They were both voted down by the board together, so there is no pending motion at this time.
Okay, now, am I free to ask for a new motion that mimics the amended motion that we just had?
Correct. You're able to do that.
Ziegler.
So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we bring up at the next meeting that we end the economic incentive program for the same reasons I was frustrated that the previous motion was made on the fly. I don't necessarily want to do that right now. What I want to do is give us some time so we can talk to the EDC, but let's bring this back at our next meeting in 2 weeks or whenever our next meeting is, and let's have a discussion and a vote to potentially end the economic incentive program in Sarasota County.
Okay, I'm going to second that because I'm getting a little bored not being allowed to talk since I'm supposed to speak last. So we have a motion by Commissioner Ziegler, a second by myself. Commissioner Ziegler, you go first, and this time I am going to go second.
No, I think I've talked enough. I guess the only thing I want to do is
No,
review this.
you haven't. You haven't. Take another hour.
So we'll review this, discuss this, we'll have meetings before, and then we'll address it then.
Okay, and first of all, we will be put on the agenda for the next meeting. It was not, okay, I'll take it on the chin. It was done on the fly, but that's my prerogative as chair to bring up a topic that we're having a lot of attention to. I've never done it before, but I'm glad I did it because we got a lot of stuff aired out. Anybody else? Oh, boy. Okay, we have Commissioner Detert.
Just a quick one. If we're going to do that and vote on this, then we should at least invite the EDC that we're sitting here eliminating, basically. We should at least invite them to the next meeting where this will be part of the discussion.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it will be a discussion item, I believe.
And I think that's the purpose of waiting 2 weeks to have a discussion is to involve the EDC. I do know that their feedback has been to me that they don't even like the incentive program either. It causes a lot more headaches than they deal with, is what I've been told at points by them. So I don't think this eliminates the EDC. It just eliminates this $5,000 program that I don't think really helps bring jobs here too much anyway.
All right, with that, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. That motion passes unanimously. I have a couple of things that I want to say to this group at this point. First of all, if you're here for items 42, 43, or 44, the discussion items, we don't take public input. So you have to speak to us in the 3-minute slots and open to the public. You open to the public, we're probably up to 25 cards. I will invoke the clause. So let me read the whole open to the public protocol. This time is reserved for persons desiring to comment before the board on items not scheduled for a public hearing. Persons wishing to speak and open to the public shall complete a request to speak card, including the number of the agenda item, or if not an agenda item, the topic to be discussed. Comments on scheduled agenda items will be heard first, followed by up to 5 speakers related to topics not on the advertised agenda. Any remaining speaker cards will be held for the final open to the public at the end of the meeting. I hope everybody understands that, and we are going to come back after a short break and start rolling through the cards after I sit here with staff and figure out which bucket to put them in. But with that, we're taking a break. Okay, we're back. Sorry, buddy.
That's okay.
Mr. Consentino.
For the hundreds of times I've spoken with you, Consentino, not Consentino, C-O-S. For the record, Mike Consentino. I'd like to start off by mentioning and apologizing to Mr. Tomaszewski for the board's forgetting to mention that March 29th is, on March 29th of 1973, our final combat troops left Vietnam, and from the 2017 Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act, we just kind of skipped past that one this morning, and so thank you for your service, and to all those that served in Vietnam, sir, thank you very much. I'll tell you, I was very disturbed, and you know that I'm often disturbed when I sit before this board. And I felt like I was back at the Charter Review Board again, where you guys just don't seem to understand parliamentary procedure and the very procedures. When you look at this agenda, agenda item 1 is open to the public. And for you guys to go completely outside of that and take an hour of our time pontificating is extremely offensive and insulting. And the reason, I'll tell you, with this 5 speakers that you just bring up, I will remind you that on November 24th of 2018, I came and had about 40 people with signs back here because we were saying, hey, why are you spending our tax dollars to have the county attorney overturn what 73% of us just voted on, which is basically permanent protections for the lands that you bought with our money for the park program. And so the result of that meeting that day was you cutting down the open to public to just 5. So all today's generosity was giving us back something that you have taken away. And I really feel that for all of these people with Ukraine, this what you see right here is the slippery slope that leads towards that. And to listen to you guys up here pontificate and basically lecture us like we're a bunch of little kids is absolutely disgraceful. And I got to tell you, especially Mr. Ziegler, for you to go off on this rant, this is not an agenda item. There's no basis to take a motion and take a vote. Now, to throw you a little bit of bone, you're absolutely right. Incentivizing someone to come here and promote Russian propaganda is absolutely despicable, disgraceful, and to take our public funds to support the Chamber of Commerce to have a parking lot. It's ridiculous. Let business survive on its own. Let us come out there in a free market and battle it out and see what happens. Don't spend our tax money to support CS key businesses. Don't spend our tax money to support Russian propaganda. and please make a huge change and give the voting citizens the respect they deserve and stop insulting us.